Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. KA Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and I'm joined tonight by none other than Mr. Chris P. Bacon. How you doing tonight, my man?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic. And then, of course, we're joined tonight by none other than that man that we call, well, Big B, but vote C2C best bald head, and that's what he wants to be called. So, welcome him in.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Just got off of work, ready to talk some sports and maybe some of that college football action we saw today. Whatever's on you guys' mind.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, that was definitely one thing that we were definitely going to be talking about was a little bit of college football, because the big thing when it comes to college football, the really big thing that I really wanted to touch on, which I don't know how many of you actually saw the ending to the Auburn and Alabama game.
That was crazy.
But you know what? Auburn actually had that game won. All the running back had to do was stay in bounds. That's all he had to do. Instead, he ran out of bounds. I don't get it. You know, you've been playing football for long enough to understand that you have to force the other team to use their timeouts, yet you choose to run out of bounds and let them save their timeout. That is just one thing that I just completely did not understand. I mean, I'm trying to understand why he did that, why he ran out of bounds. It just, I can't fathom that. I could never figure it out. And not only that, but then when you are the coach and you're at a 4th and 5, you're looking at the situation like, okay, it's 4th and 5. Do we go for it and try and pick up the 5 yards? Because if you go for it and try and pick up the 5 yards and you get the first down, the game's virtually over. Or do you go, you know what, we'll punt it back to them, knowing that's Alabama and they'll probably find a way to go down the field and score. So, Big B, I'll start with you on this Alabama and Auburn one for the two things that we're talking about. The running back running out of bounds, and then on that 4th and 5 at the end when Auburn has the ball and they decide to punt it back.
I'll have to go back and watch the replay of that. I was at work, but I was watching, the comments and stuff. So I'm going to have to, without seeing the play, going to assume that he kind of didn't know how close to the sideline he was and kind of stepped the wrong way. I mean, you guys can kind of verify a little bit more. But the 4th and 5, it always gets me, like you said, you go for it. I guess I don't know exactly where they were on the field. So, 4th and 5 is kind of a coin flip at that time. I'd probably go for it and, try to maybe get them to jump off sides. I guess it all depends if I have a timeout left or not, being Auburn. But, for me, I'm a guy that kind of goes for it. So yeah. I would have went for it. The running back, for right now, I'm going to go with the benefit of the doubt that he kind of didn't know how close he was to the sideline. So, that could be an iffy call. But, man, not that I'm a fan of either team, but, man, I was kind of – when I saw the score and how much time was left in the fourth quarter, I sure became an Auburn Tiger fan, because I wanted to see it. I wanted to see Bama go down. So,
yeah. Well, it just – when you look at the replay, you'll understand that the running back had to know. And the only reason I'm saying that the running back had to know is because as he's heading towards the sidelines, he's actually running towards the sidelines. He's actually running towards it. And so as you're watching, you're like, okay, if you're trying to get as many yards as you can, I get that. That's fine. But do not run out of bounds. If you know you're at the sideline right there, drop down. Just immediately drop down, stay in bounds, so that way they have to use their timeouts, because it's just like you said. They use that timeout there. It's 3rd down at that point. Yeah, it's 3rd and 2. And go for it. But it's 3rd and 2 at that point. But even if you get stopped on that 3rd down, if you get stopped, which they did, which they got stopped on third down, which made it 4th and 5. But there's a difference, though, because if he stays in bounds and Alabama has to use their last timeout, you still have a third down play to run. And so at that point, when the clock runs, you're actually punting it back to them with under a minute left. They're getting the ball back with about 45 seconds left. And they're getting it and they got it at the 2. So they would have had 45 seconds with no timeouts, and they would have had to march 98 yards. And that would have been a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Instead, the running back runs out of bounds. But me, it's like I've always said, I'm one of those aggressive coaches that if I know in my mind, I'm like, okay, this team has a pretty dang good chance at going down the field and tying this game. It's 4th and 5. You have the ball at the Alabama 45. Guess what I'm doing? I'm going for it. I don't care. Because if you think that they're going to score anyways, you're like, you know what? They're probably going to score if they get it back. So guess what we're doing? We're going for it. Yeah. And if we can ice the game here, it's over. So,
well, even if you're in your own red zone, I would go for it because, then if you fail, the other team's going to be backed up and, to their end zone, and they're going to have to get out of Dodge more.
So, Adam, you said they're on the Alabama 35 or 45?
45.
Okay. I was like 35. Why didn't they go for a field goal then?
No, they were at the Alabama 45, and they had a new kicker.
That would have been a 72-yarder. Yeah, you're not kicking that.
Yeah, you can't. So
or a 62-yarder actually.
But if I'm the coach, I'm being aggressive, and I'm you know what? I'm going for it. I'm going for it on 4th and 5. They're going to either I'm going to either beat them on that 4th and 5, or I'm giving them the ball back at the 45. And heck, I don't care at that point because
I guarantee if the coach would have asked the whole team, that play 4th and 5 against Alabama to punt or go for it, each one of those kids would have said, "We're going for it. We didn't come here to lose. They're going for it."
Absolutely. And then when it came to overtime, the first overtime, Alabama gets it, they score.
Yep.
Then at that point, when Alabama got the ball back and they went and scored, then Alabama kicked the extra point. Now Auburn had got it back at that point. So Auburn went down and scored. Now but I've always said this, I would have been an aggressive coach again if I was Auburn going, do I really want to take this to another overtime? And I would have been like, absolutely not. We're going to win it or lose it right here. And I keep my offense on the field and I go, we're going for 2 guys. We're going to win this crap right here or we're losing it. Because at that point, all the momentum was shifting towards Alabama. It was shifting towards them because they were losing and they had to come back. Yeah. And so once they came back and tied it, at that point, I was like, Auburn can't stop them now. They couldn't stop them in any of the overtimes that they had. So I was like, guess who has all that momentum? Alabama. Yeah. So if I'm Auburn, what am I doing at that point? I'm going for 2. I'm looking at this in the first overtime, and I was like, you know what? I'm keeping my offense out there. I'm going for 2. I'm going to either win it right here or I'm losing it right here.
Yeah, I think the first overtime, I think you definitely, try to beat Alabama that way. I'm with you on that one. I think I would have went for 2 on that too.
Yeah, because you definitely don't want to get it. To me, I wouldn't have wanted it to get it to second overtime. And
that's one thing, not to cut you off, Ace, but those ain't overtime. It should just be called an overtime period because after the first drive, it's just every other drive now. So I don't know why they call it overtimes, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and then Isaiah, I don't know if you saw much of this game, but what I'm saying though is then when it comes around to the second overtime, well, Auburn starts with the ball because Alabama had got it in the first overtime. Yep. So Auburn starts with it in the second overtime. So then you're at the 25 and you have a 1st and 10. So what does the coach do? He's like, oh, we're going to call a running play. So he calls a running play. They get a 2-yard loss. And I'm like, all right, well, they'll probably change it up on the next play. Nope. the coach goes, "We're going to call another running play." And he calls another pitch and he gets stuffed and he loses 3 more yards. And I'm just like, what are you doing? I was like, you called consecutive running plays and they're not working. So then on the 3rd down play, they finally call a passing play and the quarterback takes a sack. And I was like, are you kidding? I was like, dude, like this is freaking crazy. It is crazy how that game ended. I'm just saying that if I would have been the Auburn coach, I would have had 3 other chances to where I would have tried to win that game.
Yep.
One way or another.
Auburn,
Isaiah, it looks like you want to say something?
can you guys hear me with my mask on, by the way? Because I'm at a train station right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Auburn choked that game away. Auburn
Yeah.
could have won that game. I think it came down to that running back, Bigsby, going out of bounds, I believe with about a minute and 37 seconds left because it was 2nd down, right? I know he was trying to get the 1st down, but you stay in bounds there. You make Alabama use their final timeout, and after that, they use their final timeout. It would have been like, I believe, a minute and 30. They use their final timeout. You run another running play up the middle. You chew more clock, and you could have taken it down to, I believe it would have been at least like 40-some seconds left before you punted it away to Alabama. And I would have trusted my defense on that play because your defense had been playing so well this entire game, blitzing Bryce Young like crazy, stuffing the run. The receivers couldn't do anything. I would have done that. And after he went out of bounds, I was like, yeah, Alabama's going to win this football game because that the guy just made one of the most boneheaded mistakes that I've ever seen in college football. And you just got to have, great situational awareness there. Like you going out of bounds. I know you're trying to get the 1st down, but you going out of bounds, trying to fight for that 1st down, gave Alabama another 30 to 40 seconds. And with that high potent offense, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time to work with.
So I do agree with Casey King on this one, though. This is the one thing that I do agree with. If you're an Alabama fan, understand this. Alabama did not win that game. Auburn blew that game because they had that game exactly right there. They had it. And just a couple more different plays of what they would have done instead of running out of bounds. Completely different game, and this game ends differently. So this definitely was not a game that Alabama won. It was basically Auburn was basically like, here, we're going to hand it to you on a silver platter. It's yours. We're going to hand it to you. So, Chris, what was your thoughts about this game?
No, it was a good game. First, 4 quarters, it seemed like it was a one-sided thing with Auburn, only having 10 points, even though Alabama had 3 going in, almost to that overtime period, and it became a shootout, throughout overtime, and it ended at 4. It was a good game overall, I thought.
And right now, and I know people are talking about Heisman, but right now it's C.J. Stroud. To me, right now, Stroud is the runaway favorite for the Heisman at this point in time. I understand that Ohio State lost today, but that doesn't matter. Whether you win Heisman on how your season goes, if you win they don't base if you win a national championship off of Heisman or not. C.J. Stroud has the numbers. He's looked awesome this season as a quarterback, and so I think that it's actually going to Stroud. But it looks like we're all in agreement that if we are the Auburn coach, we definitely go for it multiple times.
Oh yeah.
When you have the chance instead of giving it back to Alabama. And so jumping into our next one though, and this was something that I don't think anybody was expecting. And Big B, if you remember, we were talking about this, Michigan versus Ohio State, and we talked about. Because I think we talked about this. We said, if Jim Harbaugh loses and Matt Nagy gets fired, do you see Harbaugh going to the Bears? Well, this is the funny thing. The Bears didn't lose, and Michigan ended up beating Ohio State. So, again. So, because Harbaugh got over the hump of beating Ohio State, now do we see Harbaugh stay longer?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, that kind of gave them, I ain't going to say it gave them the golden ticket, but it definitely bought them some time. Now, you beat Ohio State, you knocked them out of the playoffs. You're probably going to be sitting 4 or 3 because Bama's going to be 2, Georgia will be 1. So it'll be either Cincy will be 3 or Michigan will be 3. I believe. And then now you go to Iowa. You can't, you go to Iowa for the championship game. I think it is, or you play Iowa. You can't lose that game because you lose that game, you're out of the playoffs, and now you might be back on the hot seat again. But I did not see Michigan rolling over Wisconsin or Ohio State like that. I saw some posts that Michigan or Ohio State fans are saying the refs cheated, refs called a bad game. They're on
Every
Michigan
fan base
side.
does that.
Yeah, so that's one thing, but growing up, I was a Wolverines fan. That's most of the games I saw growing up. So, and to watch the crowd just filter through the football stadium down to the field, seeing I think it was Howard and Harbaugh meeting somewhere, giving hugs. They were both happy as could be. So, you beat your rival. That probably buys you another year or two. So, congrats to them, and hopefully now sky's the limit for them guys.
Yeah, and kind of going back to what Chris was saying there, and Big B, what you were saying, because you had mentioned something about the refs and penalties, and everything. This is the most ridiculous thing, because I'll tell you what, like, I get sick and tired of every freaking week hearing people complain and be like, "Oh, we lost because of referees." The ref. I'm like, no, I get sick and tired of hearing that crap.
Yeah.
At what point are fans just going to be like, "Our team lost. That's just what it is. The other team outplayed us." I seriously get sick and tired of every week hearing people say that we wouldn't have lost if. It's always if the referees. Okay, so you want to sit there and blame the referees, but how about if maybe the running back fumbled, and I'm not just talking about the Ohio State game or whatever. I'm talking about just the game in general. Maybe the running back of your team fumbled and the other team recovered it. Maybe they threw a pick six. Maybe they threw 3 interceptions. Okay, is that 3 interceptions on the referee that you threw them? Is the fumble on the referee that you fumbled it? Heck no, none of that is on them. Like, that's one thing.
Most sports fans played sports growing up, at some level. And the one thing that you're always taught is don't let the refs, the umps, whatever, dictate the game. You go out there, play your game. Don't let the refs get involved. So, I mean, as a sports fan, even playing, the refs are going to make a bad call. We're all human. We do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
down the road, have the refs cost teams games? Yes, we know they do. But again, you just play better. You don't make mistakes on your end. And you should be fine.
Well, but this is only, but it gets worse when fans come out and say it's only our team. It's always our team. It's never. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's not. No, it's not always your team. Okay.
Right.
Bad calls happen in every game. It happens. It's not just one team.
Well, and also you may get all those penalties, but did you get those penalty yards back? Did you convert on after those penalties?
Yep.
You have to do all that stuff. Yeah, it may be a bad call. In general, like, hey, that shouldn't have been whatever call, but did you convert after that?
Yep. Exactly. It happens. I mean, there's been multiple calls that, when I'm watching my team play, I'm like, it's questionable, but you know what?
Well, you even said it, Ace, last week for the Vikings-Packer game that the second non-interception, you said it was the best call.
It was.
And I kind of looked at it like, I could kind of see the interception. I mean, I honestly think the first one should have been an interception, but that's me. The second one's kind of iffy, so.
Well, I get why they threw the roughing the passer call, simply because of the simple fact that that's been a call that they call all year. And when it comes down to it, if you have your helmet anywhere near the shoulder or neck area or whatever,
No, and I get it.
they're generally going to call roughing the passer, and that's generally. And so when I saw it on the replay, I'm like, look, it was a call that they made. It was a roughing the passer call.
Yep.
Could it have gone either way? Absolutely, it could have. Because at one point, because at one point, could the defender stop? Probably not. He did whatever he could. So I get it. But you know what? It could have gone either way.
So who's your guys' top 4 right now?
Well, top 4. So you're definitely going to have to Ohio State lost, and so Michigan beat them. So you're going to have to throw Michigan in the top 4. I don't know how you can't. So you're going to have to throw Michigan in the top 4. It's going to be Georgia, I think Alabama, for some reason, which they should not stay at number 2. They should not.
Honestly, that was going to be my next question. Should Bama even be in the top 4?
Well,
they probably will put him in there.
They'll be in the top 4, but they should not be number 2 because Auburn because Auburn's not a very good team, and they got, let's say, they got lucky tonight in that win, and so I was saying that
put him at 3.
If anything, you might
3 or 4.
So you're putting Cincy number 2 then, Chris, or you put Michigan number 2? I can't see Michigan jumping 3 spots to number 2.
Michigan won't go number 2. If anything, you got to take Cincy. You got to put them in number 2 because they took care of business. Cincy took care of business. Michigan took care of business.
2 years.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing when you think about it, though, too. So next week you have Georgia going up against Alabama. So now if Georgia comes out and beats Alabama next week, now you're going to have a 2-loss Alabama team, and let's say Michigan wins, okay? Let's say Michigan wins, Cincinnati wins, and Georgia wins, and Alabama's the only team that loses out of the top 4. Then what team do you put in? You have don't forget Oklahoma State team. They beat Oklahoma today. They beat them tonight. So you have an Oklahoma State team that you could potentially put in the top 4.
Well, that's the whole thing is, I guess it would all depend on where they put the Irish and Oklahoma State. If they put Oklahoma State ahead of the Irish, then Oklahoma's in. So then the flip-flop on that is, what if Bama beats Georgia next week? So then what do you do?
If you put Georgia in somehow.
No. You would still keep Georgia in because Georgia would only be at 1 loss.
Okay. And that was kind of a debate we're having at work because, what if Georgia loses next week? Do they stay in the top 4? They bounce out. I'm like, they've been number 1 all year. They lose the last game. You probably drop them down to probably 3 or 4.
You can't kick them out because they would only have 1 loss.
The only way I see Bama staying in if they lose is if they lose on a close game, overtime game or something.
Well, let's not forget though, it is Bama and the committee loves Bama. So even if Bama has 2 losses, who knows? The committee might be like, well, it's Bama. And they're our moneymakers, so we want to find a way to put them in the top 4.
No doubt. I mean, you want your best teams in, but, you can't keep trying to pull these strings to where you get Bama in there, Georgia in there, Ohio State in there. Sometimes you just got to go with it and be like, you know what, Bama wasn't Bama this year,
So Casey King is saying Michigan goes to 4, Cincinnati goes to 3. So he's saying you're basically just taking him and moving him down a little bit. But the one thing that I want to touch on here is
he must have Georgia and Bama 1-2 then.
Yeah. So, but Justin Bossman as I was saying, Houston destroyed UConn, so they will be UConn. Are you kidding me? UConn's not a good team. So it doesn't matter what they do to UConn.
Yeah, the Gophers beat Wisconsin, so they should be able to beat Michigan, or whatever.
Right, exactly, right? That doesn't make any sense.
I love your contribution, but man, I just I don't know. I mean, Cincy's legit. I mean, I think Chris said it was 20-something-0 in the last 2 years. So, I mean, if Cincy loses, then, we got a whole nother discussion. I mean, there's possibilities. I mean, it's every given Saturday, Sunday for football. So, Cincy could lose. Michigan could lose. Bama could lose. I mean,
yeah, I'm saying this could get really. Think about this. This is where it could get really interesting. So let's say 3 of the top 4 teams lose next week. Oh. So let's say, Georgia ends up beating Alabama. So let's say Georgia beats Alabama. For some weird reason, Iowa beats Michigan. And then for some weird reason, Houston beats Cincinnati. Then what the heck happens?
Then yeah, you're right. I don't know, but that's where you'll make the case that Bama's in, and then you probably go Irish and Oklahoma State. But again, you got a 2-loss Bama team trying to capture, the national title after just getting beat by Georgia, which to me that's one negative against how they do their college playoffs, because now. Let's say Bama sneaks in at 4 after getting beat for some reason. Now, you got Georgia playing them. They've already beat them once. I mean, that's why they need more. Personally, I think they need more of a structural, like the NFL has somehow. But yeah, this week and next week could really mess up the playoff systems, and we could get 3 totally new teams in there. We could get 2 new teams in there. I mean,
we could get every new team. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whoever wins the Georgia Bama games in.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't get every new team because Georgia and Alabama are playing each other. So somebody's gonna win, and so somebody's staying in.
Yeah, exactly.
I just know that the whole playoffs next week could get all combobulated depending on what happens. Now I'm saying Michigan should not lose to Iowa. Cincinnati should not lose to Houston. The biggest question is going to be Alabama versus Georgia. I think that's going to be the biggest question.
I got my money. Well, not really, but money on Georgia. I feel like Georgia.
Oh yeah, I think. Well, where is that game at?
I think Alabama, no, Georgia. Isn't it the championship usually in where the Falcons play?
Yeah, it's usually. So
the Atlanta Falcons Stadium can see a championship game finally. Okay,
it's actually at Bama.
It is at Bama. Ooh,
yeah.
Ooh, that might even make it more interesting.
They can still win it, I think.
Well, I think Georgia can honestly still win it. Don't get me wrong, but. It's hard. It's got to be hard to go to Bama and play them at home. I mean, especially squeaking out this game. So they're going to be fired up next week. So, and maybe they did that, the old, we look past this week for next week. Who knows? I mean, so.
It's going to get interesting.
It is. I mean,
it's going to get interesting.
I gotta say, I don't know what your guys' take on it, but this year's football season in general, college and pro, has just been amazing football, amazing competition, amazing games. I mean,
yeah. So I'll tell you the one thing especially about the NFL this year. This is probably the most equal competition I've seen in the NFL in many seasons. It's been a long time since I've seen it this even, to where you can look at the AFC and you can look at the NFC and say, right now, I don't think there's a clear favorite in either conference, because there's really not.
AFC, I would agree with you, but the NFC, after what Arizona's done with their backups, I would say Arizona is probably the number 1 right now.
Yeah, they could pretty much win with any quarterback.
But I get what you're saying, Ace. I mean, I get you. Nobody's 10-0, 9-1 going into the last few games. I get what you're saying there. Everybody's record, you're 1-2 games off. Heck, the Vikings can still make a run, and I think they could get the number 1 seed. So. Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. It's more wide open. There's no clear cut right now. I get what you're saying, but overall, I think Arizona's probably the legit right now.
Well, yeah, but you look at okay, so you look at Arizona, and that's fine though. But you can also look at some things that are wrong with Arizona, also, just like other teams, because you have to think a Green Bay team beat them minus our top 3 receivers, and we were still able to come out and beat them. And so so when it comes to it, it's that's why I said I don't really think that. That's why I look at it going. There's really no clear cut favorite as to what.
I know what you're saying. I mean, but I look at it, like you take the Green Bay Arizona game. Rodgers gets knocked out or Murray gets knocked out. I could trust Arizona's backup more than I could trust Packers' backup.
Oh, well, absolutely. And that's because Colt McCoy has experience. And so that's why I've said before, right now, like when people are talking about, who's the best backup in the NFL? Well, at some point, you have to talk about Colt McCoy because – and I'm not saying he's the best, but he's one of the best backups in the NFL. You have to throw his name out there.
Oh, no doubt. I would – McCoy somebody said Mariota for Fitzpatrick when healthy is probably the best backup he could ever have. I mean,
Fitzpatrick, though, that's the thing. This whole season, he hasn't been healthy.
No, and so, exactly.
But I think –
IR.
Yeah, and basically they don't think he's going to be back this season because he still has pain and swelling in the hip area.
Oh, this could be Fitzpatrick's last year probably. I mean,
but when it comes to it, I think this Washington team would have been better this season if Fitzpatrick was quarterback.
Oh yeah, no doubt. That's why they went out and got him.
Yeah, so this Washington team would have been better. So Fitzpatrick is another name you could throw out there as being a good backup.
Honestly, right now, I couldn't even tell you who Minnesota's backup is. I mean, to be honest, so I'm glad we don't need them right now.
Isn't it Kellen Mond?
No, I think he's third string right now. He might be the backup. I don't know, but I really think he's third.
Or is it Mannion?
It might be Mannion. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's Mannion.
We're hurting if Kirk goes down. As much as I don't like the guy, we're hurting if he goes down. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, most teams, if you lose your starting quarterback, most teams are kind of hurting if you lose your starter.
Exactly.
Because I don't know too many teams that their backups are better. Their backup quarterback is better than their starter. But originally, when people were talking about it, people were talking about how, Jacoby Brissett was better than Tua. But when it came to it, you saw that Jacoby Brissett didn't do anything when he was in there. Jacoby Brissett wasn't doing anything.
Some of the quarterbacks though seem to be better when they get thrown into the mix instead of being named a starter. We're gonna make the decision. I thought that way with like Tavares Jackson and Jackson for sure, but like who's the other backup? The Webb. When they got the spot start, they seemed like they played better. Or if they came in relief, they played better. But if they were named the starter for that game, they stunk it up. So
Foles was like that. I mean, he played good. He had, when he came in, he helped win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but you.
I know that's different, but
no, you have those certain quarterbacks as backups that they come in and they play good for certain teams. So because you have a Nick Foles that was good for Philadelphia, really wasn't good anywhere else, but he was good in Philadelphia. You have Matt Castle, who was great in New England. He went elsewhere, couldn't really do anything with Kansas City, couldn't really do anything with Minnesota, couldn't do anything in Tennessee. There was multiple teams he couldn't do anything for. You had Matt freaking Flynn, okay? Matt Flynn, who would come in and throw for 400 yards a game as a Green Bay backup, and then you send him to Seattle and Oakland and he doesn't do crap. Yeah, and he doesn't do crap.
Case Keenum. I mean, Case Keenum was perfect fit in Minnesota, and now he's with the Browns, I think. Backing up.
Yeah, he backs them up now. But So you do have those quarterbacks that they do better for certain teams.
It's the
And
system. I mean,
and you may or may not agree with me on this, Big B, and that's fine. But I was saying I never understood why Minnesota did not roll with Case Keenum.
oh, don't get me started on that. Don't get me started. Yes, that could be another whole show for me to vent about that one. But I'm with you, Ace. I don't know why. I mean, I get Zim's reasonings why, but you're one game away from the Super Bowl. You're knocking on the door. Why not bring everybody back? And the thing is with that draft, 2 picks later, what they drafted some defensive back or corner, I think. 2 picks later was Lamar Jackson. So you roll with Case, Teddy, and you draft Lamar Jackson. It's Case's job to lose, and if not, if he loses it, you got Lamar Jackson there. Look what Lamar's done. So
wasn't it Mike Hughes? Wasn't it Mike Hughes?
I don't know who it was.
I think you
you're
had
probably
drafted
right,
Mike Hughes.
We're not going to get started on that one.
No, I was just curious.
But you are right, though. You are right, Ace. I'm on your side.
Because I was going to say, what was your initial reaction when you found out that they were not bringing it back, that they were getting Cousins?
I mean,
Your
Zim's right.
season's over.
You don't know what. I mean, Zim said that he didn't know what case you were going to get. You're going to get this case or the journeyman case. But yeah, you don't know how Cousins would have fit in there. So you got a guy that you knew who fit with your team versus a guy you didn't fit with your team. Now, Case wanted starter money. He wanted that $20 million he got from Denver, which I 1 year I don't think you get that. But again, John Elway calls your idol, the team you rooted for. He calls. It's hard to say no to that. So I mean, Case did what he had to do. Vikings did what they had to do. But yeah, I think they made a big mistake there.
Yeah, trust me, I was with you, and I don't like the Vikings, but I was completely with you that when I saw that, I'm like, what are they doing? I'm like, why are they not bringing him back? Like, you were legitimately 1 game away, and you go,
knocking on the door.
Yeah, and then you say, never mind, I'm not going to bring it back. So that part I never understood.
Yep, exactly. I don't get it.
But all right, Chris. So as we saw, the news on your end for your Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're feeling about it because, all the speculation right now, they're talking about how Ezekiel Elliott's going to probably be sitting out on Thursday. They're talking about resting his knee. And then they're actually talking about, at the end of the season, we might even field calls for Ezekiel Elliott and kind of trade him and move on from him. So your initial thoughts, is this something that you're okay with?
I'm okay sitting him, for Thursday. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a full week, and he probably will be healthy, but you are getting down to the end of the season, and you're most likely going to be a playoff team. Just figuring out the seeding situation, so you're going to need any player that's healthy. As far as if he's going to be traded, or just fielding offers, I haven't heard official word on that, like here in the area, so I'm not sure about that. But I wouldn't be surprised by Jerry, doing that, because I feel like Pollard's one of the better running backs on the team. He's a few years younger than Zeke, but he has that burst of speed, and they're trying not to use him as much, either one. So he's going to have to take bulk of the load next week and hopefully, pull out a win in New Orleans, and a tight end here, Jarwin. He's out so far with COVID. Hopefully it doesn't, take, the whole week before the game starts to know his status. So,
well, here's the thing, though. You can talk about, will Zeke be traded and will Zeke not? But this is the problem that Dallas is having. This is a problem. And we talked about this before the season when they paid Dak all that money. This is the problem that Dallas now has. because they paid Amari Cooper a massive amount of money. They paid Dak Prescott a massive amount of money. They paid Ezekiel Elliott a massive amount of money. And now it's showing on their salary cap. And so now you guys have a lot of these rookies who are going to be coming into close to the end of their rookie deals. And then soon you're going to have to pay CeeDee Lamb. And so at some point, you guys are going to have to decide, do we move on from Zeke? Do we move on from Amari Cooper? Because I can tell you, Zeke is somebody, I can tell you this by just looking at the way Zeke presents himself. Zeke is not going to be somebody that's going to come out and be like, and be willing to take a pay cut. There's no way. Zeke is not that guy that I don't think that's going to do that.
I've also heard that.
Something I saw, Chris. Maybe you can pull up the rosters. Is Pollard a free agent this year, or is it next year?
I want to say it's next year, but I'll make sure.
Yeah, because I saw something too that they were talking about. Pollard may decide to walk if he's a free agent.
I heard that too.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that Gallup may be trade bait.
Well,
Van Der Esch,
exactly.
Lawrence. I've heard.
Yeah, because this is the problem, though, Chris, because you're talking about Pollard, and talking about him wanting to potentially hit free agency. And I know that Christy Wilson's saying that contracts can be restructured. They can, but here's the problem: if you have
the players agree to it, though, too.
Yeah, number one, they have to agree to it, and number two, if you have an individual like Pollard, who is going to look at this and be like, well, if he thinks he can be a star back in the NFL, there's no way that if Dallas comes out and says, well, we'll give you, like $5 million a season. There's no freaking way Pollard's going to take that. He's going to say, well, if he feels like he's going to be a star back in the league, then he's going to want that star money. And so if he knows that, he's going to go hit free agency and be like, if I know I can get that money, I'm going to go where I can get the money, and I'm going to take it. And so, that's why I'm saying that's one problem that I only see the Cowboys having right now is they're going to have to figure out contracts. That's going to be the biggest thing. Would Zeke take a pay cut? I doubt it. I'm just saying based upon the person I kind of see him on the field and everything, I don't think he's somebody that would do that.
No. Pollard's he'll be a free agent in 23.
Okay.
He'll be getting 965.
So they got they got a question right there in the backfield. Do they want to pay Pollard? They want to, keep him for that 1 year and see what happens in 2023. But knowing Jerry Jones, he's going to want to lock these deals up quicker than later. So.
Definitely, because Dallas can look at this and be like, well, and they can look at their defense and be like, well, you know what, you might have an up and coming defense, but then you come back to the thing that we were just talking about. If you have an up and coming decent defense with young guys like Diggs and Parsons and Van Der Esch and guys like that, they're going to want their dough just like everybody else. And so somehow, and you're not going to be able to pay them all. That's the problem.
So I got a question here, and I've seen kind of rumblings or somebody speculating. Mm-hmm. What's the deal with Baker and the Browns? I see Justice comment said last game's tomorrow. His wife had a falling out with people on Instagram. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, the Browns really ready to give up on him, or what?
No, I think what it is, and a lot of what it was that, when Mayfield was playing, or I would say when Mayfield was playing bad, when OBJ was there, OBJ was kind of that fallback guy to where everybody could be like, well, Mayfield was bad because OBJ was there and OBJ wanted the ball, and then he was kind of that cancer on the team. So nobody looked at Mayfield as the problem. They looked at OBJ saying, you need to get OBJ out of there. Mayfield will play better once OBJ's gone. And then OBJ left and he got released, and Mayfield has not done anything since. Yeah. And so now the team is actually looking at Mayfield and being like, well, people were saying that OBJ was the problem, but you're not doing any better now that OBJ isn't there. And so at what point do the Browns look at Mayfield and be like, maybe it's not OBJ. Yeah. Maybe it's you that's the problem. And so there's actually been a lot of rumblings in the locker room to where receivers have been mad and they have been kind of, looking at Mayfield and being like, you need to put the ball on the money. You need to do this. But thing is, though, Christy Wilson is asking, isn't Mayfield injured? Yes, he is.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, he's actually pretty banged up at this point in time because right now he's not on his throwing arm, but on his on his opposite shoulder, so his left shoulder. He's got a torn labrum in his left shoulder. He's got I think he's got like it's kind of like a partial fracture in his left shoulder also. He's got a sprained ankle. He's got a sprained knee. He's out there playing on this. And I give him props for that. I give him props for him out there playing it. But he really wasn't doing anything before the injuries either. And so that's where it came from. He had that good 11 games last year when they went on that crazy 11-game run, and he threw like I think it was like 23 touchdowns, like 3 interceptions or something like that.
Yeah, but they had a heck of a running game last year.
Exactly. They had a heck of a running game. Yeah. But now you're seeing, though, that since he doesn't have that running game, because Kareem Hunt was out and Nick Chubb was in and out of the lineup. And now you're seeing that when Mayfield doesn't have that running game, he's not that same quarterback that he was last year when they had that excellent running game.
Yeah.
Well, and plus, as far as the cap goes, next year you're paying him like $18 million, a little over that.
Yeah, I just don't think that Mayfield is the franchise quarterback of this team. I don't think he is.
He needs a fresh start.
But where is the thing, though? That's the thing. Where are
Detroit?
No.
That's where quarterbacks go to die, man. That's where quarterbacks go to die.
Did they say that about Cleveland, though?
Yeah. I mean, one thing Detroit's got going for them now is they got the few extra picks. I mean, Detroit could probably do some wheeling and dealing to get some pieces to build around, but we know how Detroit does that. I mean, Ace, me and you see them twice a year. We know what kind of team they are. So,
right? They're just that tiny. But
if Stafford wasn't in LA, I think he would have gone to the Rams.
He is what?
What?
If Stafford didn't go to the Los Angeles
Rams.
Oh,
you can see the Rams making a move for Mayfield.
Okay, yeah. I know. I was confused there for a second because you were talking about Stafford, and you're like, if Stafford wasn't with LA, he'd be with the Rams. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, the LA and the Rams are on the same team. I don't get it.
Yeah, Mayfield, I mean, maybe Pittsburgh. They're going to need a quarterback. This year or next year. I mean, whenever Big Ben decides take a walk, I mean, Pittsburgh might be a team.
So I don't know. Speaking of quarterbacks and potential trades and everything, I shared this in the chat. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this was last year, or actually before the season, when Seattle was almost traded Russell Wilson. And the Bears had offered Seattle 3 first-round picks.
Yep, we heard this one.
Khalil Mack and Hakeem Hicks.
Didn't J-Mac break this one down? Didn't we break this on Sportsminute?
No, we were talking about it, and we were saying if they offered him, which it came out and said yes, they did offer him Khalil Mack and Hakeem Hicks and 3 first-round picks.
Wow. And
you're telling me that if you're Seattle, you don't take that?
I don't know what to think of that because, I mean, you're kind of rebuilding your defense. I mean, But the Bears really aren't gaining anything in that deal. Yeah, they're getting a better quarterback, somebody to build, who around, because they wouldn't have Justin Fields if they did this trade. So they would be, drafting 5th or 6th round quarterback or something. But see, if this deal is true and Seattle did not do it, if I was a fan, I'd be pissed.
Right, because let's say Seattle, for some reason this year, if Wilson's like, I want out, I don't want to come back, you're going to trade me, you have to trade me somewhere else because I'm not staying here. So let's say they do that and they don't even get near what they would have got from Chicago. Imagine what Seattle fans are going to think at that point. They're going to be like, what in the hell were you thinking? You could have got 3 first-round picks and 2 starters on defense, and you chose not to do it.
I mean, Seattle, if you make the deal, then you're pretty much admitting 2021's a no-go unless something miraculous happens. But you got 3 first-round picks, so you package your first 2 picks this year, move up in the draft, maybe Jacksonville or San Fran, you get either Lawrence or you get Lance. You let them, play second fiddle to whoever you decide to start, and you start rebuilding there. So, Seattle, I think if this deal's true, man, they made a big blunder in that missing out.
That would be a huge blunder. Now it makes me wonder though. It makes me wonder, since Isaiah's not on here, I can't ask him. But I was saying it makes me wonder what Isaiah would think if it came out and they go Seattle, which it would never happen because San Francisco is in the same division, so you would never see it happen. But
did San Fran move up there or no? Or did they draft for
what?
For Lance.
They drafted.
I thought they moved up into that spot. Oh, I know they drafted him, but were they always in that spot or did they move up?
No, they were there.
Okay.
But I'm saying though. But what I'm saying though is it makes me wonder what Isaiah would think if it came out, and it would never happen because they're in the same division. But it would be funny though. You see, San Francisco trades Trey Lance to Seattle for Russell Wilson and some first round picks. I wonder
that deal would never happen. No, but if the Bears would have got Russell Wilson, then Seattle calls San Fran and say, "Hey, we'll offer you 2 first round picks for the number 4." Seattle or San Fran probably would do that deal.
Yeah, but if San Fran was going to give him Trey Lance and first round picks, Isaiah would be like, "What happened to Trey Lance? What happened to Trey Lance?"
Oh, the coach should be fired. The offense coordinator should be fired. The GM should sell the team. There should be a riot.
That'd be fun. We just post San Francisco traded, Trey Lance to Chicago for like Russell Wilson.
San Francisco has traded Trey Lance to the Detroit Lions for Jared Goff. And in the meantime, San Francisco also trades Jimmy Garoppolo to the Jets for Zach Wilson. That would be funny to see his reaction to that.
Yeah.
I think at that point Isaiah would lose it and it'd be like, "What the heck is going on here?" Because then you would end up with Jared Goff.
But they come out next year, win the first game, and everything will be all right.
And then he'll say that was a good decision.
Well, you would have to find a way for Jared Goff to win a game without Sean McVay as head coach, which we're still not sure how that's going to work out yet.
What about that? Yeah.
Still not sure how that one's going to work out.
A little MLB here. What do you guys think about the big move? Sterling Martin going to
Sterling Marte.
Marte, going to the Mets.
Yeah, they got him for depth.
You're
gonna see that. You're gonna see that the Mets are gonna try and build a team. They're going to try and get depth on that team. That's really what the Mets are going for, because they've had basically epic collapses over the last several seasons. But we've also heard too that really close to signing Javi Baez, which everybody was already saying that Javi Baez was going to the Mets. But I will say this: there's actually a team that people are forgetting that is actually in the running for Javi Baez, and they're actually this close to signing him, and that's the Tigers. Because right now the Tigers, they're all in on people. Like the Tigers are going after anybody and everybody that they can get their hands on.
I tell you what, the Tigers get Cora and Baez. Oh my God, that would be a one killer middle infield.
Yeah, they're going to be, and the Tigers would be they would start getting better. The only thing they would need to do is get some more pitching help. Yep. But I think that because they're going after everybody they can get,
and that's honestly what you do. You throw everything at the dartboard to see what sticks, and that's something I wish my Twins would do instead of just sitting back and we don't got the money, we want to spend it right. No, you throw contracts at these people, I mean, if they're willing to go to Detroit, they're willing to come to Minnesota, So, that's something I wish a lot of teams would do is just start throwing money out there. Granted, players are getting overpaid, blah, 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 whatever. But it'd be nice to read the papers or read online. Hey, the Minnesota Twins offered Baez a 5-year deal, $200-some million contract, but he turned it down. Okay, that's good news. At least they're throwing money somewhere.
Is that Isaiah?
Totally agree with you, Big B. I totally agree with you. Hey, I'm sorry I missed like a good chunk of the show because I was taking the train to the club, and right now I'm outside of a club right now waiting in line to get in. So I'm like talking to you guys because this club actually has good Wi-Fi. So I figured why not hop on? It's my first time at a nightclub, so why not try to party tonight.
Yeah, we were just talking about the rumors that San Fran might be trading Trey Lance to the Lions. What do you think on that?
Well, I don't want to yell my voice out and get kicked out of this line, but if they do that, I might have to come back here and get myself 50 martinis just to soothe my feelings over it.
All right. Well, anyways, we're close to that point of the show, which Christy Wilson, Isaiah is telling you, watch out for the bouncers, because
what are bouncers?
Bouncers, they're like security guards. They're the people who throw people out of bars when they're ready.
You'll find out what bouncers are.
That's what bouncers are. They make people leave the nightclubs and bars when they're rowdy.
Yep. It takes like 6 of them to throw you out. Just ask Ron White.
Yeah. So with that, we're almost, so we're pretty much at that point in the show now to where we're like at the very end. And so, Chris, go ahead and tell me what are some of your final thoughts here.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We're getting things back in the swing of things after Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, and tomorrow we'll have morning tailgate and Between the Ropes, and we also have Sunday Spin music show, so tune in for that.
All right, and then Big B.
Yeah, like Chris said, thanks everybody for joining us tomorrow in a few hours. Check us out for morning tailgate. Me, Chris, Low Roll, break down some of the Thursday games and all of the Sunday games and give our predictions. Join us all week. I mean, Tuesday we're going to bring in Entertainment Hour with Randy, myself, Chris. We're going to break down some musicians this week and some songs that got covered by other groups and stuff, and just kind of chit-chat about music.
All right. And then, of course, Isaiah, your final thoughts?
Well, my final thoughts is that it was a great show, even though I literally missed all but maybe 5 minutes of the program. But it was a great show. Glad to all the fans. Thank you to all the fans for tuning in. And, I want to give a game ball out tonight because, it's, almost and it's the end of the week. So I want to recognize someone for their great contributions and their great performance. And that is to Jim Harbaugh of the Michigan Wolverines. 7 years, man. finally got over the hump, beat Ohio State, finally slayed the dragon, and now probably headed to the playoffs for the first time as Michigan's head coach. And he ended Ohio State's season, which I'm really happy about because I actually put money that Ohio State would not make the playoffs this year, and I am $40 richer today as I was opposed to last night.
Well, you
All
get
right.
into the club, you'll be $40 broke by the time you get in, so you're even.
All right. Well, with that, I do want to say, thank you to everybody. I want to say thank you to Chris, Isaiah, and Big B, of course. All of our viewers, we couldn't do this without you. And so with that, the last thing I have to say is, Isaiah, I told you Braves in 6. So anyways, after that, I hope everybody.
Expired.
And Vikings by 14 this Sunday, Isaiah.
And so with that, yep, Braves in 6. So with that, I hope everybody has a fantastic night. It was Braves in 6, and you all have a great night, and we'll see you guys next time.